After the wedding, the house grew quiet again. The flowers dried in their vases. The ribbons were folded and tucked away. The dress hung on its hanger like a story put back in its book. Life went back to ordinary days. I have always believed ordinary days are where love proves itself. On a Sunday morning, we met at the market. The stalls were just opening. The fish lay on ice like silver leaves. The fruit stood in neat piles, bright and hopeful. Lena took my arm. Her mother waved from the bread stall. Her father held up a bag of oranges and said, "Sweet ones today." I smiled. "We will see." We walked slowly. He liked to compare prices. I liked to watch people. The bread woman cut a small end off a dark loaf and let us taste. "This one keeps better," I said. The mother nodded. "Then this one." It was a small decision, but it felt like a shared step. At the herb stall, the seller recognized me. She pressed a little extra thyme into my bag and whispered, "For your soup, Auntie." The father saw and smiled, not the tight smile he wore before, but the kind that opens the eyes. "You are known here," he said. I said, "I have been asking questions here for years." He nodded. "Questions are a good way to make friends." We bought spinach and ginger and small onions. We chose apples by their weight in our hands. We laughed at a child offering stones as if they were coins. We found a bench under a tree and rested. The father tried to take the heaviest bag from me. I did not let go. He tugged a little. I tugged back. We both laughed. Then I let the bag slide to him. He sat out of breath in a way men hide with a cough. "Are you all right?" I asked. "Getting older is a slow surprise," he said. "It can also be a slow mercy," I said. He looked at me for a long moment and then nodded. The leaves above us moved like quiet hands. Back at my apartment, we cooked lunch. My kitchen is small, but 3 people can move in it if they take turns with the stove. I cleaned the fish. The mother cut tomatoes into neat, even pieces. The father washed the spinach and left soil in the sink. I did not correct him. I rinsed the leaves again. Sometimes love is the second rinse. We ate at my table. The father complimented the fish. The mother asked how I kept the broth so clear. "Patience," I said, "and skimming." She smiled and said, "I am learning patience." She said it softly to me and to herself. A few days later, we began something new. We did not plan it. We only noticed it after it happened twice. Wednesday soup night, no invitation, no fuss. If the pot was on, the door was open. The first one was at their home. I arrived to find a pot on the stove with shy steam. Lena looked worried. "It tastes like water arguing with ginger," she said. I laughed. "Let us settle the argument." I added a pinch of salt, then a little more heat. I sliced an onion thin and let it soften in a small pan before it joined the pot. We waited together. We listened to the gentle sound that tells you the heat is right. The apartment felt different now, not like a picture, like a home. The father came in and hung his jacket over a chair. He kissed his wife on the head without thinking about it. It was the first time I had seen that, a small thing, a big thing. We sat by the window and ate soup with bread and cut fruit. We told small stories. Someone talked about a neighbor with a rooster in a city apartment. Everyone laughed, even the mother. It was a round laugh with no sharp edges. I looked at the table and thought, this is the kind of room I prayed for. After dinner, Lena stayed in the kitchen with me. She washed, I dried. We worked in easy silence until she said, "Sometimes, late at night, I remember that I once told you to leave. I go to the living room and I sit on the couch and I whisper, 'Stay, please.' It sounds silly." "It is not silly," I said. "It is practice." She turned the cup in her hands. I want to ask you something hard, but not in a hard way. Ask, I said, why did you wear the old dress that first day? Her voice was careful. I wanted to see your hearts, I said. I wanted to know if you could be kind to someone who looked like she needed it. And, she asked, you were kind sometimes, you were proud sometimes, you were afraid sometimes, so was I said. She nodded. We are learning to be brave in the same room. We started to share little things that mattered. The mother sent me a picture of a dress she was sewing, asking, too plain? I replied, plain is honest. Honest is beautiful. She sent a smiling face made of 3 dots and a bracket. It made me laugh. I sent back a picture of an onion cut 2 different ways and asked, for soup or for frying? She replied, for both. I wrote, correct. One morning a letter came. It was from the school where I worked for many years. The paper was thin, the writing was neat. They were planning a lunch for retired staff, a way of saying, we remember. I read it twice and then called Daniel. There is a lunch, I said. At the school, will you come with me? Of course, he said, we will all come. I did not expect the all, but they all came. We met at the school gate on a bright day. The building looked smaller than I remembered. The paint was faded. But the sound of children in the yard was the same, full and high and alive. Inside, the kitchen smelled like onions and steam. A woman I had worked with ran to me with her apron on and hugged me. You are still neat, she said, pointing to my hair. I tapped her shoulder. You are still loud, I said. We laughed until our eyes watered. Lena stood behind me watching. Her mother moved her fingers over the clean counters like a person reading Braille. Her father put his hands behind his back and nodded to everyone as if he was greeting a good street. We sat in the small dining room. A few speeches were made. They called my name and the room clapped, not loud, but long enough to warm my chest. Someone told the story about the time I fed 2 classes with food for one and no one left hungry. Someone else told the story about the day I made delivery drivers sit and drink tea when the rain soaked them. Small stories, the best kind. After we ate, a young man came up to me. He was taller now, but I knew his eyes. Auntie Miriam, he said, you told me once to finish my rice because I would need the energy. I did. I passed my exam. I smiled. Rice is magic, I said. He laughed. You are too. Near the door, an aunt from Lena's family appeared. She wore bright lipstick and a dress that spoke before she did. She looked around and said, so this is where you worked, humble. Lena's mother turned to her. Her face shifted in a small, clear way. Humble is a good word, she said. This kitchen fed our children. It fed me today. It fed my pride in the wrong direction once. I am learning a different appetite. The aunt blinked, then she smiled an awkward smile and said, of course. And the moment passed not as a fight, but as a gentle door closing on an old habit. Outside, the sun felt warmer. We walked toward the gate. The father touched the fence, testing the world as if for temperature. I can see why you are known at the market, he said. Because I asked for the right onions, I asked. Because you learned people, he said. It was simple, it was a gift. On our way home, we stopped at a small shop for tea. We did not speak about big things, we let the day rest. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to stop talking and hold the quiet together. On the bus later, an older woman sat beside me. Her scarf was knotted the way my mother used to knot hers. She talked about the price of eggs. At one stop, her eyes filled with tears that she tried to wipe like rain. People looked away in the polite city way. I took a tissue from my bag and held it out. She took it and whispered, thank you. Then she said, "My daughter-in-law told me to rest." It sounded like dismissal. "Sometimes kindness is spoken with the wrong mouth," I said. She laughed through her tears. "Yes," I said, "let her try again when she learns the shape." Wait, she folded the tissue like a small letter and put it in her pocket. When she got off, she lifted her hand. I lifted mine. I told my family that story at dinner. The father leaned back and said, "We think only we are learning." He shook his head. "Everyone is in school." A week later, I noticed a damp circle on my bedroom ceiling, small at first, the size of a cup. I touched it and my fingers came away cool. I called my landlord. He said he would send someone next week. Time is not the same for everyone. I stared at the ceiling that night. The circle grew like a slow thought. In the morning, I called Daniel. "Do you know a better plumber?" I asked. He arrived that afternoon with his father-in-law and a toolbox. They set up a ladder like a promise. The father climbed and slipped a small flashlight into his mouth for a second, then caught it in his hand, then put it in his pocket. "Old roof," he said. "Old houses have old habits." He tapped the plaster gently. Here, by evening, the leak was patched. The ceiling wore a white bandage that made the room feel calmer. The landlord came with apologies and a new promise to paint. He looked at the father with careful eyes and said, "Thank you." We drank tea at my small table. The father brushed plaster dust off his sleeves. "We do what we can," he said. Before they left, the mother pressed a small silver key into my palm. "For our house," she said. "For emergencies, for nights when your ceiling sings. For any reason, no need to call first." The key felt warm from her hand. I held it and felt the part of me that once feared I was extra in their home go quiet. A key is not only for doors, it is for hearts. That night I put the key in my tin box next to the bracelet and the bus pass and the folded paper from the bank. I took it out again and hung it on a small hook by my door. Ready, visible, true. Not long after, a small worry came. I was cooking when the room tilted for a breath. I sat down. The father was visiting and saw my face change. "We call a doctor," he said. I said, "No, no, let me sit." He called anyway, kind but firm. At the clinic, Lena held my bag while I lay on a narrow bed. She ran her fingers over the place where the thread used to be loose. The mother sat with her hands under her thighs like a child trying to be still. The father stood, then sat, then stood again. The doctor checked my pressure and smiled. "A little low today," she said. "Eat, drink, rest." Simple advice, the best kind. While we waited to pay, Lena opened a tiny travel sewing kit from her wallet. She threaded a gray needle and stitched my handbag where the thread had been loose for so long. She worked without words. Her hands were quick and careful. When she finished, she placed the bag beside me. The loose thread was gone. In its place was a neat line. "I liked the thread," I said, half a joke. "It will still be your bag," she said, "just a little stronger." The mother looked at me. "We are learning to mend," she said. I held the bag and felt something settle inside me like a bird sitting at last. We started to mark our Wednesdays with small frames of time that felt holy. Sometimes it was my kitchen, sometimes theirs. The soup was not always perfect. Sometimes too salty, sometimes too thin. We ate it anyway. We passed bread. We passed stories. We learned to say simple words that open doors. "Help, yes. Sorry, I know. Stay, I will." One Wednesday, the cousin who had once said vintage is brave came early. She stood by my counter and watched me cut carrots. "May I try?" she asked. I gave her the knife. She cut slowly, careful and proud. After 3 slices, she looked up. I was foolish, she said. I wanted to be interesting. I was unkind. Her face was open. Thank you for not freezing me there. Carrots are forgiving, I said. So am I, we smiled. We made a bright orange pile together. Another evening, the mother and I sat on the balcony at their home. The city hummed below like a gentle machine. She said when I once said marry up or down, I was trying to control a world that frightened me. I thought if I placed things, nothing would fall, but people are not shelves. People are hands, I said. Yes, she said, hands. We let go, we hold, we forgive. She turned to me. May I call you Ma? The word hung between us, light and heavy at once. If it feels true, I said. It does, she said. We did not say more. We did not need to. A small envelope arrived in my mailbox a few days later. Inside was a photograph, not from the wedding, not from the park, from the day we fixed the leak. It showed Daniel on the ladder, the father steadying it, me below, holding up the small flashlight like a star. A neighbor must have taken it from the stairwell. On the back was a note in a round hand. Good neighbors. I smiled. I placed it on my wall beside the framed photo of the 4 of us. We were good neighbors, we were more. We learned to help each other in ways that were not dramatic. The mother taught me to hem from the inside so the stitch did not show. I taught her to cut an onion with fewer tears. The father taught me to change the battery in my smoke detector without using the wobbly chair I had kept for too long. I taught him to wash spinach so the sink did not look like a field afterwards. We laughed. We learned. When the school sent a thank you card after the lunch, I added it to my tin box. I also placed inside a small scrap of blue ribbon from the wedding and a picture of the herb stall woman who always gives me extra time. I looked at the old papers and the new ones together. The tin is not full of money, it is full of care. On a walk home from the market, I passed the building where I once left with a small smile so I would not cry. I stopped at the doorway and listened. The hallway light was still warm. The elevator hummed the same old way. A young couple passed me. The woman had tired eyes. The man touched her hand and said, "Come inside. We will talk." The door closed behind them. I sent a quiet blessing after them. May their conversation be kind. We also began to mark our walls with words. Under our family photo in Lena's living room, we hung small frames with simple words we had each chosen. Lena wrote stay, Daniel wrote listen, the father wrote adjust the heat, the mother wrote mend, I wrote enough. We stood and looked at the line of words and felt seen by our own handwriting. There were still moments that needed care. That is the shape of life, but we had made tools, a pot to share, a key on a hook, a habit of soup, a bench in a market, a way of saying, let me help, that did not sting. We did not act anymore, we arrived as ourselves. I acted poor when I met my daughter-in-law's family and they laughed. Now when I meet them, I bring soup and they bring chairs and we laugh together. It is not a loud laugh. It does not need to be. It is steady. It is warm. It is enough.